key to that is you read the claim. You read the allegation very finely and with open mind.
सर, जब आपके खिलाफ एक प्लेंट आ जाती है तो क्या आप सीधा उसकी डिफेंस की ड्राफ्टिंग पे चले जाते हैं या उससे पहले कोई प्रिक्विजिट्स होते हैं या कोई बेस स्टेप्स हैं जो आप फॉलो करते हैं?
Claim, you need to categorically and very clearly think about whether you are going to plead it as a admitted, as a acknowledgement, as a denial, or as a non-admission. These are not the only defenses. There may be legal defenses as well. For example, you may plead the right to self-defense. You may have a journalistic immunity. For example, recently we have seen in defamation cases.
How should I structure my defense so it should be a winning case?
एक पूरा रोड मैप बना लिया है तो आपको पता है कि मैंने किस चीज़ में कहाँ जाना है और किस चीज़ में क्या क्या चीज़ें लिखना।
अब हम इसका पैरावाइज रिप्लाई किस तरह से लिखेंगे?
Paragraph 1 and then you saw in the para 1 the defendant admits if you are admitting something. So this is how you will start to tackle on your defense in paragraphs and in para 1's replies. आपके खिलाफ अर्ज किया गया है कि आपने 2 लाख रुपया देना है, मे बी कि आपने भी उनसे 1 लाख रुपया लेना।
And sir, can we quote case laws and laws in our defense also?
You have to substantiate your defense. As I said earlier on couple of occasions, legal defenses आपके पास।
How should you effectively close your defense?
You have a plausible ground to defend this case.
सर, क्या हम डिफेंस के साथ भी सिविल मिसलिनियस एप्लीकेशंस दे सकते हैं?
You will make a list of your exhibit which you have referred into your defense.
जब हम एक डिफेंस ड्राफ्ट कर रहे हैं उसमें लैंग्वेज की क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है?
Like any other legal drafting, language is a very powerful tool और this is your way of communication. कि आप उसको उर्दू में करो चाहे इंग्लिश में करो, should be very crisp, should be very concise, very precise. I mean, defense is one of the most responsible work.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to WST Talks. I am Advocate Daim Qazi from WST Law. प्रैक्टिस सीरीज की आज की वीडियो में हम ये देखेंगे कि हम कैसे अच्छी तरह से एक डिफेंस ड्राफ्ट कर सकते हैं, हम कैसे अपनी रिटन स्टेटमेंट अच्छी तरह से ड्राफ्ट कर सकते हैं। टू एक्सप्लोर दिस टाइप ऑफ लीगल ड्राफ्टिंग वी हैव Barrister Waqas Tarar with us. Barrister Waqas has been trained in Australia for 15 years. He has a long career as a defense lawyer in multiple jurisdictions across the world. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Daim, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me once again.
सर, सबसे पहले मुझे ये बताएं कि मैंने मल्टीपल वर्ड सुने हैं, डिफेंस, रिटन स्टेटमेंट, रिप्लाई, कमेंट्स। सर, इनमें बेसिक क्या डिफरेंस है?
दाइम यूजली हम वकला जो हैं ये टर्म्स को इंटरचेंजेबली यूज़ करते हैं। These are the similar terms for the same context or the same activity we are talking about. लेकिन अगर आप इसको लिटरली पूछो तो इनमें से कुछ टर्म्स ऐसी हैं जो कि हमारी प्रैक्टिस स्पेसिफिक हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल, जब आप रिटन स्टेटमेंट्स की बात करते हो तो मेरे जहन में स्ट्रेट वे आता है कि आप सिविल दावे की बात कर रहे हो। सिविल सूट के अंदर आप रिटन स्टेटमेंट्स जो हैं अपनी वो फाइल करते हैं। जब आप क्रिमिनल मैटर के अंदर आपके ऊपर कोई एलिगेशन है, आप उसको डिफेंड करना चाह रहे हैं तो आप डिफेंस फाइल करते हैं। जब आप जो है वो एपेक्स कोर्ट की रिट ज्यूरिसडिक्शंस में उनके पास जाते हैं तो एपेक्स कोर्ट में भी आपसे कमेंट्स मांग ले टू असिस्ट द कोर्ट टू डिस्पेंस दैट केस जस्टली। तो इस तरह ये बेसिकली स्पेसिफिक प्रैक्टिस तौर पे भी यूज़ होते हैं और स्पेयरिंगली एज अ लॉयर्स ऑन डेली बेसिस भी यूज़ करते हैं।
सर, कमिंग बैक टू आवर टॉपिक, व्हेन वी नीड टू फाइल अ डिफेंस?
Defense is usually filed when you have been sued for a civil litigation or in a civil matter. Secondly, as I said earlier, if you have been accused in a criminal matter, then you file a defense. It is basically flowing from the idea that both parties or all parties must be heard before the courts can provide a just decision in a matter. So it's a common law tenet as well. It is equally applicable in civil law as well.
सर, जब आपके खिलाफ एक प्लेंट आ जाती है तो क्या आप सीधा उसकी डिफेंस की ड्राफ्टिंग पे चले जाते हैं या उससे पहले कोई प्रिक्विजिट्स होते हैं या कोई बेस स्टेप्स हैं जो आप फॉलो करते हैं?
So, Daim, every defense is based on your strategy, based on your formulation. For example, in each claim, you need to categorically and very clearly think about whether you are going to plead it as a admitted, as a acknowledgement, as a denial, or as a non-admission. So these are the terms which you have seen in multiple defense we have filed where we say we admit, we deny this outright, blah blah blah. So what happens is, this is your strategy, how you are going to take on these causes of action, or how you are going to take on these allegations made against you in specific charges entered. Now, what happens is, these are not the only defenses. There may be legal defenses as well. For example, you may plead the right to self-defense in a criminal matter. You may have an immunity if you are, a certain public sector employee, or a certain person with plausible immunities. Thirdly, you may have a journalistic immunity. For example, recently we have seen in defamation cases where a few of our clients have pleaded their journalistic immunity based on public interest, based on right to know by the community. So these are also the legal defenses which you have to take into consideration as well. Then you have, also need to understand and ensure whatever you are going to plead and however you are going to plead, वो लीगली सब्सटेंशिएटेड है, एविडेंस से corroborate आप उसको कर सकते हैं. So at least you have a very sound and valid defense entered against the person who has brought those charges.
Sir, thank you so much for clarifying this. Sir, please tell me, how should I structure my defense so it should be a winning case?
As we have said in our earlier two podcasts pertaining to legal drafting, you always have an outline, you always have a well structured headings which you can populate. अगर आपने हर चीज़ की एक पूरा रोड मैप बना लिया है, तो आपको पता है कि मैंने किस चीज़ में कहाँ जाना है और किस चीज़ में क्या क्या चीज़ एंटर करनी है. Since we are talking about drafting a defense, then for that reason you will start off with recitals. What are recitals? I have already earlier said in those cases, your party's name, addresses, the case and the court name, etc. Secondly, what you do is, your second most heading could be preliminary objections. Why? These are the objections which you want to raise at the outset. For example, if there is a jurisdiction issue, for example, if there is any other law matters pertaining to fee, pertaining to any unclean hands, pertaining to maintainability, pertaining to any fraud, anything you want to plead, you will plead it at the outset in those objections. अब आपकी जो तीसरी चीज़ होगी वो होगी your counterclaim. If you have a counterclaim which you want to raise, if you would like to add more information. With this one, there is a divided rule. You can do it once you have pleaded a parawise defense, or you can do it as the third item. So this is depending on how would you like to do it. Then the fourth thing will be your parawise reply to the allegations or the causes of action filed against you. Second last, you add more information, any facts, any new claim. As I said earlier, you can bring it here or you can deal it there. And lastly, you close by with your prayer or remarks, and this is the outline which you can follow.
सर, अब हम आगे ड्राफ्टिंग के ऊपर. अब हम इसका पैरावाइज रिप्लाई किस तरह से लिखेंगे?
Daim, the parawise reply is very specific and exactly complements the paragraph number as you're going to address it. So if the plaintiff or the complainant has used specific paragraph numbers 1, 2, 3, you will use them exactly as it is. And then you will use pursuant to your formulation of the defense. I give you an example. Paragraph 1, and then you saw in the para 1, the defendant admits. If you are admitting something, you categorically say the defendant admits. So this is how you're going to plead in that paragraph, whatever they have alleged. Secondly, in paragraph 2, the defendant denies categorically, or defendant denies the existence of this contract. In relation to paragraph 3, I do not admit or acknowledge the facts. Why would you say that? You would say that because you are actually requiring more information. You are awaiting some investigation to occur so you can provide more facts. So this is a situation where you have certain knowledge of the matter, but you will gather more information and then bring it before the court, or it will come before the court through your evidence when you are adducing them and they are admissible. So this is how you will start to tackle on your defense in paragraphs and in para-was replies.
और सर अगर जो प्लेट में बात हुई हुई है उसके अलावा हमने कोई अपनी बात ऐड करनी हो तो हम उसको किस हेडिंग में ऐड करेंगे?
एज आई सेड अर्लियर, अगर आपने कोई नया फैक्ट्स लाना है, फॉर एग्जांपल आपके खिलाफ एज किया गया है कि आपने 2 लाख रुपया देना है, मे बी कि आपने भी उनसे 1 लाख रुपया लेना हो, सो दिस इज़ व्हेन यू विल ब्रिंग आउट योर काउंटर क्लेम और यू विल ब्रिंग इट टू द अटेंशन ऑफ द कोर्ट दैट ही और शी ओज मी 100,000 एज वेल. सो आप चाहे नंबर 3 के ऊपर उसको डील कर लें, चाहे आप उसको नंबर 4 के ऊपर कर लें, चाहे आप उसको पैरावाइज से पहले डील कर लें, चाहे आप उसको पैरावाइज कमेंट्स के बाद में डील कर लें. सो दिस इज व्हेन यू कैन ब्रिंग इन ऑल द न्यू इन्फॉर्मेशन.
एंड सर कैन वी कोट केस लॉज एंड लॉज इन आवर डिफेंस आल्सो?
Definitely, as I said earlier, you have to substantiate your defense, whether it is a factual defense, whether it is a legal defense. You always have to support your case with the most relevant case laws which are available pertaining to your facts and the provisions involved in the case.
Sir, does law provide us any remedy or privileges which we can use in our defense?
बिल्कुल दाइम, एज आई सेड अर्लियर ऑन कपल ऑफ ओकेजन्स, लीगल डिफेंसेस आपके पास सेल्फ डिफेंस है, आपके पास अटर्नी क्लाइंट प्रिविलेज का डिफेंस है, हम लॉयर्स के पास, हमारे पास इम्यूनिटीज़ हैं, काउंसलर इम्यूनिटीज़ हैं, हमारे पास मल्टीपल डिफरेंट इंटरनेशनल लॉ की इम्यूनिटीज़ हैं, then there are state immunities, for example in terms of people pertaining to army or the services, they have certain immunities available. Then we have under defamation, as I said earlier, we have journalistic immunities. Public interest का है, आपकी community का right to know है, whether you are just basically communicating the facts. So ये सारे defenses आपके पास legally available हैं और आप इनको अपने जो है वो केस को प्लीड करने के लिए बिल्कुल यूज़ कर सकते हैं, एंड दीज आर वैलिड डिफेंसेस. बट हैविंग सेड ऑल दैट, you need to have corroborated evidence to support your case. You need to basically substantiate, and you need to make sure in a criminal matter you establish this beyond a reasonable doubt, and in a civil matter you actually adduce it to a balance of probabilities. तो उसके अंदर किसी किस्म का कोई शक या किसी किस्म की कोई कबाहत ना रहे, तो आप उसको बिल्कुल प्लीड कर सकते हैं. People successfully plead them as we have pleaded in couple of defamation cases last year. So yes, these are available.
Sir, how should you effectively close your defense?
I think what would you say is very crisply that the claim should be struck off, the pleadings be returned, or the charges may be dropped by the court. It depends on whatever you are trying to defend the case for, and just very crisply, very precisely you will plead those. And again, as always, you put a blanket provision, any other relief which the court may fit in those circumstances, you will always ask for that as well.
सर डिफेंस का स्ट्रक्चर कंप्लीट हो गया. सर क्या हम डिफेंस के साथ भी सिविल मिसलिनियस एप्लीकेशंस दे सकते हैं?
सिविल मिसलिनियस एप्लीकेशन डिफेंस के साथ बिल्कुल आप दे सकते हैं, इफ़ यू वांट टू ब्रिंग समथिंग एल्स टू द अटेंशन ऑफ द कोर्ट, और इफ़ यू वांट टू इन्फोर्स एनी अदर राइट्स or want to validate your rights. So certainly you can do that because you have been joined as a party to that case, and you can always do that. There is no bar on that.
और सर क्या डिफेंस के साथ भी एफिडेविट देना लाजमी होता है?
जी बिल्कुल. स्पेसिफिकली जब भी आप कोर्ट को कुछ चीज़ बता रहे हैं, whether it is a factual in nature, whether it is a legal in nature, you have to present it to the court through a sworn affidavit, which have to be validated through an oath commissioner, and it becomes a binding exercise for you if you are bringing a new information before the court, and court wants to make sure that you are not lying and everything, whatever you're saying or putting it together, that actually is with the best of your knowledge and belief.
सर एफिडेविट के साथ जो आपके एविडेंस हैं, रेलिवेंट डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं, क्या वो भी अटैच करते हैं इस सारे ड्राफ्ट के साथ?
जी बिल्कुल, definitely you will make a list of your exhibit which you have referred into your defense, and then you will attach it with your written statement or with your criminal defense. Why would you do that? You would always basically want to substantiate your case, and you want to tell the court precisely that your defense is fully valid, and you are not hedging your bets, and you have a plausible ground to defend this case. And one thing which I would like to add, in civil cases you will also file list of legal heirs of the defendant as well as part of your written statements.
सर हम ये बात बहुत दफ़ा कवर कर चुके हैं, लेकिन मैं दोबारा से पूछ रहा हूँ कि जब हम एक डिफेंस ड्राफ्ट कर रहे हैं, उसमें लैंग्वेज की क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है?
Daim, like any other legal drafting, language is a very powerful tool, or this is your way of communication. So defense के अंदर, since you are categorically pleading either you admit something or either you do not admit something, so you have to be very specific. You can't hedge the bets. आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि ये भी है वो भी है. तो आप अगर अपने एक effective और एक बड़ा substantiated defense फाइल करना चाह रहे हो, तो उसके लिए आपकी जो लैंग्वेज है, डजंट मैटर कि आप उसको उर्दू में करो चाहे इंग्लिश में करो, शुड बी वेरी क्रिस्प, शुड बी वेरी कंसाइज, वेरी प्रिसाइज, और जितनी आप प्लेनली उसको लिखोगे उतना अच्छा है, उतना उसके अंदर आपके लिए कल को मसाइल कम आएंगे, उतने अच्छे तरीके से कल को आप उसको प्लीड कर सकते हो. सो द रूल स्टेज द सेम एज वी हैव डिस्कस्ड in our previous two episodes. For the in-depth understanding what kind of language and the tone of language or the formatting you need to use while you are attempting to do legal drafting, you can actually see our earlier two topics, and they will be very much helpful to tell you how you can approach that task.
Sir, thank you so much for giving your precious time.
It's my pleasure.
Sir, at the end of our discussion, any word of wisdom for young lads like me?
Diamond defense is one of the most responsible work you can ever do. In a criminal matter, a person could be either innocent or criminal. So you need to make sure you are very good at your game. And key to that is you read the claim. You read the allegation very, very finely and with open mind. You then test it and you formulate it. Take your time, research it before you start to jot it down, before you take it to the keyboard level and start to typing it out. You need to make sure you understand what the other party is trying to allege against you. Once you have understood that part, believe you me, that will be the most work you would have ever done already. Then rest would be just typing it out and saying that's it.
Sir, thank you so much for joining us. आज की वीडियो के साथ हमारी लीगल ड्राफ्टिंग की एपिसोड कंप्लीट होती है. आई एडवाइज माई कोलीग वॉच ऑल 3 पार्ट ऑफ दिस एपिसोड टू मास्टर लीगल ड्राफ्टिंग. हमारी नेक्स्ट वीडियो सूट को फाइल करने के बारे में होगी. अगर आपका आज की वीडियो के रिलेटेड या अगली वीडियो के रिलेटेड कोई भी क्वेश्चन है, कमेंट्स में बताइए. शुक्रिया.